Rogelina was an insatiably curious girl with a knack for adventure. Born to a family of scientists, her childhood was filled with grand explorations and endless questions. But nothing prepared her for the day she stumbled upon an inconspicuous antique pocket watch in her grandfather's cluttered attic. As soon as her fingers brushed against it, a soft hum began to emanate from its core. Intrigued, she twisted the watch's dials, and in an instant, the world around her shimmered and reformed into a completely different scene. Rogelina's journey through time had begun. Her first destination was the bustling streets of Renaissance Italy. Dressed in period-appropriate attire she miraculously acquired during the transition, Rogelina navigated the cobblestone paths with wide-eyed wonder. She met Leonardo da Vinci, who mistook her for an eager young apprentice. Through their encounters, she marveled at his artwork and inventions, absorbing his teachings and gaining insights into one of history's greatest minds. With a swift adjustment of the watch's dials, Rogelina found herself next in the midst of the American Revolution. The air was thick with tension and the sounds of distant battles. She encountered George Washington himself and witnessed the resolve and dedication of the revolutionaries. Through her interactions and observations, she learned valuable lessons about courage, resilience, and the power of unity. As her adventure continued, Rogelina visited numerous pivotal moments in history: the signing of the Magna Carta, the ancient Egyptian courts of pharaohs, and even the early space missions. Each trip not only educated her about the past, but also brought her into contact with historical figures who imparted wisdom and insight. Slowly, the small uncertainties of her character began to morph into a resolute sense of purpose and direction. Rogelina's final stop was a heart-wrenching visit to her own family's history. She found herself in the home of her great-grandmother, a woman she had only heard stories about. She observed the hardships and triumphs that shaped her own lineage, gaining a deeper appreciation for her family's strength and legacy. As Rogelina returned to her present time, her adventure and the device's mysteries came to an end, but her heart and mind were forever changed. The lessons she learned and the perspective she gained would guide her future, inspiring those around her with the wisdom of ages past. With a newfound sense of purpose, she knew that the real journey had just begun. Rogelina's time-traveling adventures had only scratched the surface. Who knew where the pocket watch might take her next? Rogelina was a curious girl with an insatiable thirst for adventure. One day, while exploring her grandparents' dusty attic, she stumbled upon an ornate, brass pocket watch. Etched on its face were cryptic symbols and a small dial labeled Epoch Selector. Intrigued, she decided to twist the dial and, in an instant, found herself swirling through a vortex of shimmering light. Rogelina landed with a thud in the middle of an ancient Egyptian market. The air was filled with the sounds of traders haggling and the aroma of exotic spices. She stood up, dusted herself off, and marveled at the sight of the towering pyramids in the distance. Her first encounter was with a scribe named Anpu, who was fascinated by the magical device Rogelina carried. He guided her through the bustling streets, sharing stories of pharaohs and mystic rituals. As evening fell, Rogelina realized she needed to return home. She twisted the dial again, and the world around her began to blur and reshape. This time, she found herself in medieval England, standing before a grand castle. Rogelina was quickly noticed by a young knight named William, who mistook her modern clothes for a peculiar kind of armor. He escorted her to the court of King Arthur, who was in the midst of planning a grand feast. Rogelina's tales of the future captivated the court, and she was treated like an honored guest. She even witnessed a jousting match and tasted delicacies long forgotten by her time. The next twist of the dial transported her to the Renaissance in Florence. She found herself in a lively square, watching in awe as artists like Leonardo da Vinci sketched inventions and masterpieces. An encounter with Galileo Galilei led to a thrilling discussion about the cosmos and the nature of time itself. Rogelina couldn't believe she was conversing with the minds that would shape the future. Her journey continued through various epochs, meeting Marie Curie in her lab, witnessing Martin Luther King Jr. deliver his iconic speech, and even sailing with ancient mariners exploring new worlds. Each trip was an education and an adventure rolled into one. But not all encounters were serene. She found herself dodging arrows in a medieval battle, narrowly escaping the sinking of the Titanic, and witnessing the tension of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Despite the danger, Rogelina felt a deep connection to humanity's spirit of resilience and innovation. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of adventures, Rogelina twisted the dial one last time and returned to her grandparents' attic. The experience left her enriched and humbled, with a newfound appreciation for history. The pocket watch, now glowing softly, was placed carefully in her keepsake box. She knew it held countless more journeys, just waiting to be discovered. As she closed the attic door, Rogelina smiled, knowing that her remarkable time travels were only the beginning of a lifelong quest for knowledge and understanding. Rogelina had always been a curious and imaginative girl. One sunny afternoon, while exploring her grandfather's cluttered workshop, she stumbled upon a peculiar device covered in a layer of dust. It was a small, ornate pocket watch with intricate engravings. Intrigued, she wound the watch and was immediately engulfed in a bright light. When she opened her eyes, she found herself standing among towering pyramids under the scorching sun of ancient Egypt. A striking woman adorned in gold and fine linen approached her. It was Cleopatra, the legendary queen. Overcome with awe, Rogelina listened intently as Cleopatra shared stories of her reign and ancient Egyptian culture. Before she could blink, the watch tugged at her, pulling her through time once more. This time, she emerged in a bustling hall where men were fervently debating and signing a document. Rogelina soon realized she was witnessing the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. The room buzzed with excitement and tension, and she couldn't believe she was in the presence of America's founding fathers. As the watch pulled her again, Rogelina found herself in a dimly lit workshop cluttered with sketches and inventions. The man hunched over a drawing table was none other than Leonardo da Vinci. She marveled at his genius and felt inspired by his relentless curiosity. But time travel wasn't without its dangers and dilemmas. In each era, Rogelina faced challenges that tested her problem-solving skills and bravery. In medieval Europe, she had to escape a castle dungeon. In the Roaring Twenties, she navigated the complexities of a Prohibition-era speakeasy. Each adventure taught her more about history and herself. Finally, the watch pulled her back to her grandfather's workshop. The familiar surroundings felt different now, enriched by her incredible journey through time. Rogelina reflected on the importance of understanding history, feeling a deeper connection to the past. She realized that history wasn't just a series of dates and names, but a tapestry of human experiences and stories. Clutching the pocket watch and filled with a newfound sense of wonder, Rogelina knew that her adventures were far from over. She couldn't wait to share her stories and the lessons she had learned, knowing that her journey had only just begun.